We often accept a simple definition of democracy, a system where citizens periodically drop a ballot into a box, and the system calculates the result. But the math tells a different story. Most modern representative systems are engineered to strip citizens of their sovereignty. Instead of mapping the true will of the population, they operate as rotating oligopolies. The historical architecture of these institutions was designed for an era of distance and delay, prioritizing institutional control over direct citizen input. Currently, citizens temporarily surrender ownership of their power to politicians. They largely lose control until the next election. A mathematically precise democracy requires the opposite. Authority must be strictly borrowed, never possessed. This proposed operational model is called Xcytocracy. This model operates on an absolute law of parity. One citizen equals one equal civic identity equals one equal vote. This rejects systems where votes are multiplied or diluted. A small region voter does not receive more national weight than a large city voter. By mistaking the temporary surrender of power for the exercise of power, citizens have engineered themselves out of the democratic equation. There is only one mathematically valid path for true democratic input. A citizen's vote directly translates to the final result, with zero intermediary transformation. Among modern democracies, the United States presents the weakest parity case. Its architecture is structurally designed to violate this basic math. This flowchart tracks a single vote through the U.S. system. The Electoral College introduces a geographic multiplier, altering a citizen's mathematical weight purely on where they live. The citizen vote is filtered into a state result, transformed into territorial electoral votes, and only then becomes a final result. The systemic failure of this architecture is clear. The national popular vote winner can mathematically lose the election. We can contrast this with systems that actually achieve executive parity. This diagram shows Ireland's presidential election model. It uses a single, undivided national constituency, where a citizen's ranking directly informs the national result. Ireland's use of ranked preferences prevents information loss. Voters mark their first choice, acceptable alternatives, and unacceptable candidates, capturing their exact intent. Single-choice ballots discard massive amounts of voter data. Full preference expression accurately maps the true will of the population. Countries like Israel achieve this parity for their parliaments by treating the entire country as one equal district. Xcytocracy applies this unyielding math to every level of entrusted power. Geography should dictate whether a local issue affects you. It must never dictate your mathematical weight as a human being in a national calculation. Massive geopolitical entities rely on absolute numbers to obscure proportional, systemic failures at home. This split-screen data visualization compares two systems. On the left, a system with 330 million users. On the right, one with 1.5 billion. They show an identical number of absolute error flags. But when we transform the data to show percentages, those identical absolute numbers equate to drastically different proportional failure rates relative to total scale. Central governments hide behind this scale distortion. They export local damage while avoiding direct accountability. The countermeasure to this distortion is recursive governance. The rule of recursion states that a decision belongs to the smallest scope capable of resolving it. A street-level issue is decided by the street, a regional issue by the region. Planetary coordination is invoked only for genuinely global issues that lower levels cannot mathematically solve. We replace top-down dictates with bottom-up coordination. When power is mathematically locked to the smallest capable scope, systemic failure can no longer hide behind distorted national statistics. Modern representative democracy has a terminal flaw. It contains a mechanism to grant power, but no structural mechanism to peacefully withdraw trust from dangerous actors. Think of it as biological engineering. An organism that can ingest fuel but possesses no immune system will inevitably be destroyed by pathogens. The missing civic immune system is ostracism. Ostracism is not a criminal trial, it is not physical erasure, and it is not a popularity contest. It is the democratic, evidence-based withdrawal of a person's eligibility to hold public or systemic power for a fixed period, typically 10 years. This circular flow graph maps the democratic decision cycle. Implementing ostracism requires a permanent public memory, an immutable ledger where official actions, budgets, and promises are permanently receipted. moving from issue to evidence, execution, and evaluation. At the evaluation and correction nodes, evidence of corruption or gross failure triggers the ostracism pathway. The critical rule here is clear. If no suitable replacement exists, a vacant office is always preferable to installing another unfit ruler. A governance system that only allows citizens to choose who receives power, but cannot determine who is unfit to hold it, is an incomplete democracy. Systems globally branded as the gold standard of democracy actually possess the weakest structural and mathematical integrity. True democracy is not the periodic right to choose between political products selected by existing institutions. This equation shows the complete architecture. Exact parity, recursive subsidiarity, permanent receipts, and ostracism must exist simultaneously. One without the others leads to failure. The ultimate output logic of this equation is simple. Nobody rules by ownership. Authority is lent. Advanced technology and artificial intelligence will execute this accountability. But technology serves the democracy. It must never become the hidden sovereign. Until a civilization structurally guarantees that evidence remains and power can always be taken back, we are not living in a democracy. We are just negotiating the terms of our surrender.